With me on the phone right now, I have Joe Jacket, the creator of the Latin R&B group Barrio Boyzz. Joe, welcome to the Time Machine.
Welcome. How you doing, buddy? How's everything going?
Everything's going fine, man. I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to conduct this interview with me, my man.
Okay.
All right, now let's go ahead and tell the people, how'd you get your start in the music industry?
Well, I got started in the music industry. I was working in the post office, and I had a bad car accident. And when I was sitting at home, I decided I didn't want to go back to the post office, even though many people told me it was a great job. I just didn't feel like it was a great job for me. And some of that was the mere fact of seeing how supervisors was just constantly harassing me. I just couldn't take it. So I had a chance to get out, and I started working with a guy by the name of Maurice Starr that put together New Edition and New Kids on the Block, and he invited me to come out on the road because I was designing jackets at the time for a lot of stars, such as Guy, which was Teddy Riley, the group The Boys. Started designing some for New Kids on the Block, and it just went on, and Maurice invited me to go out on the road. So while I was on the road working with him, I thought of the idea of putting together a Latin group, and Maurice was very instrumental in aiding me with that. So I put together 5 guys. 4 of them were from the South Bronx, and 1 was from Spanish Harlem. And I put them together in about 2 or 3 weeks, and I started working with them. And Maurice would always assist me and tell me what I needed to do in order to make the group better. And I was just so thankful that this brother just came along, because in the music industry, it's very hard to find someone that'll come along and be a mentor and help you and aid you along. But Maurice did that, and I put together the group, and within 9 months, we landed a deal at EMI Records with Charles Copperman. And it was crazy to go from seeing a paycheck for $750 to, cashing checks that were for $250,000.
Yeah, that's definitely a nice little upgrade.
It was a serious upgrade, and things started changing. Most of the guys that was in the group, the Barrio Boyzz, came up in single-parent homes. They had no fathers, and they just weren't used to the kind of lifestyle that was before them. They were able to move and get better homes and better apartments and buy nice cars and just able to do things for their family.
So basically,
that they weren't able to do.
So basically, it was like moving on up, like the Jeffersons,
Yeah, they did. They moved up. Now, I grew up in the projects in a family of 13 in the South Bronx in New York City, and my mother had 8 girls and 5 boys, and I was the 12th child born. So it was incredible for me to have come from that kind of background in a single-parent home, and then to be able to travel the world, especially all the Latin American countries that I was able to go to and visit, such as Puerto Rico, Santo Domingo, Venezuela, Chile, Spain, Ecuador. I went to Colombia, Panama. It was incredible, as well as going to London. Had an opportunity to go to Japan. I stood next to President Clinton while he was the president and met him, and it was just incredible what lied before me, just making good choices in life.
So you was racking up the frequent flyer miles.
Yep. Oh, man. One time I had like 250 frequent flyer miles, and back then all you needed was like 20,000 frequent flyer miles to go on a trip anywhere in the States, and 30,000 to travel outside the United States. And I mean, I had them. I should just give them away.
Right. Now, what was the jackets like that you made for Guy and for New Kids? Were they more like jackets that were used in their stage show, or was it like fashion jackets that they would wear outside in regular clothing?
Actually, they were able to do both. There were times that they would wear the jackets on stage, like Joe McIntyre. If you look at when New Kids did the pay-per-view show, he had on a jacket that said Irish Power on the back. That's the jacket that I made for him. And then I also made jackets that people would just wear, out in the street and, just everyday wear. The jackets were going for like from $1,000, and some of them were $2,500, and they had Australian crystals on them and had like a lot of artwork. They were real nice jackets, but the jackets put me in a position to replace my salary from the post office to be able to really spend the time that I needed to work the group, and that's what I did.
Right, and you said you did jackets for guy, and I just came to a thought that in the Get With You video, the little jackets that had GUI on it, did you make those for guy?
Right. Yeah, it had GUI. I made those jackets for guy.
Okay.
And, you know, the whole thing is that's much bigger than that. That, you know, I want your audience to know is, you know, I told you that my mother had 13 children, and, you know, just growing up in the South Bronx, it's a rough neighborhood. You know, it's you know, a lot of gangs and different things like that when I was coming up. And, you know, I got caught up in selling drugs, and I got caught up in doing robberies and things like that. And at age 18, and I had no idea that my mother would have gotten killed by a drunk driver. And even though my father didn't live with us, I reached out to him and wanted him to come back into my life and the life of my brothers and sisters, and he did. And unfortunately, it only lasted 2 weeks, because 2 weeks after my mother was killed, my father was shot and killed. So, you know, going to college with a 7th grade reading level, not being able to read because I played around in school from the 1st grade probably up to the 12th grade. Now I'm in one of the best colleges in New York City, but I can't read. And it was a great thing that happened to me and for me was 3 Jewish professors had came into my life when I was in college, and they helped me out. So they convinced me to register to learn how to speak Hebrew and Yiddish, and I took other classes, and I eventually graduated from Baruch. And it just wasn't easy, but I just started making positive choices. But I didn't even realize how things were unfolding for me and before me. Because the guy that gave me my first record deal was a Jewish guy that owned a record company named Charles Koppelman.
Now, how hard was it to sell the idea of Latin guys singing R&B?
The thing that was amazing is people don't realize that blacks and Latinos live next to each other in the Bronx and Brooklyn and all across New York City. And a lot of them listen to the same music that we listen to. And I thought it would be a good idea to put together a group that would be able to sing in English and in Spanish. And I was able to do that with the Barrio Boyzz. If you listen to the How We Roll album, if a person didn't see them, they would think that the guys singing the records were black. And then you can listen to songs that we've done with David Foster. We got a chance to work with him, which is a phenomenal producer. He's the guy that did Break My Heart for Tony Braxton. He did Monica for You I Will. He also did the Unforgettable album for Natalie Cole. And he also did the Bodyguard soundtrack for Whitney Houston. He also worked with Celine Dion. So we got a chance to work with some serious people. We work with Dallas Austin, that's out of Atlanta, Darryl Simmons, and a whole lot of other producers. But it was a great thing.